Welcome to the Infrastructure Podcast. My name is Anthony Oliver, and today's podcast is a special episode recorded live at the recent, and it has to be said, hugely impressive annual Bauma construction technology event in Munich. My guest is Ivan Di Federico, the newly appointed president and CEO of Topcon Positioning Systems, one of, well, if not the leading global player in the positioning and machine automation technology sector. Technology that is now ubiquitous and vital across all modern construction and agriculture. And it's a fascinating time to talk to Ivan. He took over the reins at Topcon 6 months ago, taking over from long-standing former CEO Ray O'Connor, at a moment when the worlds of construction and agriculture are undergoing a massive digital transformation driven by automation, AI and advanced positioning technologies. And as a global leader in GPS positioning, machine control and precision technology, Topcon is at the forefront of this evolution, helping to enhance productivity, sustainability and efficiency across the industry. The question is, how does a business like Topcon stay ahead of the curve and, of course, stay ahead of the competition? Well, if anyone knows, it's Ivan. So I started our conversation by finding out how, 6 months into the role, he saw the business navigating the complex and changing global challenges facing infrastructure and technology. Let's start with the macro picture. The world is changing really, very fast geopolitically, but also from a climate perspective and, of course, from a development of technology. Given those pressures, how do you see the market right now? And what really excites you about your role taking over the business over the last 6 months?
Well, thank you very much, first of all, for inviting me to this conversation and for the nice question. Indeed, what we see really confirms your perception. Is a pivotal moment in our history because many things are changing. You see, in the economic perspective, the pressures that we see, but also there's a lot of what I would call confusion, right? In order to see what is exactly right, what is wrong, what we should be doing. And this is one of the reasons why, when I took over the role of President CEO, I really started the program to re-ingrain ourselves with the roots of what we are, where the values come from. And that has not changed, the good news.
Yeah.
What is really that drives what we do? It's to create value for our customers and to create value for the customers of our customers. And that is essentially what drives it. What is the engine behind it? This is the growing population, and the need for the food, for the infrastructure that they need to move and to express themselves, and the need for higher education, the need to a better life, which is aspirational for everyone now in every continent. We need to optimize what we do by technology. Right. That's the engine behind what we do.
But one of the phrases you use a lot is about the democratization of technology. Yes. And as a technology business, does that essentially rely on you, I suppose, bringing the cost of your technology down so that it's more accessible? How do you do that?
That is one thing. Technology is important and will continue to be there as the driving force in the business because of the growing population and the expectation of quality of life that they have, which are our sandboxes for the business. Therefore, it becomes important to make the technology that allows this growth to happen available to a largest pond of people that can really utilize it for the benefit for larger businesses, okay? Therefore, in order to do that, it's extremely important that we do two things. On the one hand, use the power of expanded volumes in manufacturing to drive down costs. But also, on the other hand, be clever in simplifying the technology in such a way that it becomes available. Imagine, if I would do something that's extremely inexpensive but extremely complicated to use, we still haven't got it. Right. What we need to do is to blend these two factors in order to make a technology available and reachable, so utilizable by everyone who wants to grow in modern society. And that's where we stand when we say democratization.
Because Topcon, you've got a clear and I suppose a proud culture of innovation and an entrepreneurial approach to your business. And it's perhaps based on your firm's Japanese roots. I don't know.
Definitely, absolutely.
But you said recently that I think you've got something like 5,000 ongoing patents.
Oh,
and
yes,
you're
even
doing
more.
something like 10 a month.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you maintain that that culture of constantly looking under rocks and trying to find new ideas?
It is, it stems out of curiosity. And there's the company has to have an atmosphere inside, which in general we can say culture, but it's also about how leadership manage situations where we have, an employee or a team that wants to propose something, and then give them understand what they are, and when there is something behind those that we feel can be, a breakthrough in innovation,
To give them the freedom.
to give them the
actually-
freedom to touch it, and also the freedom to make failures.
Yeah.
Because through the errors is where we understand what needs to be changed, but also people will understand how not to make that same error again.
Yeah.
And so when you do this over time, 2-3 times, you get a very solid professional. And we have a particular dedication in breeding this type of people and the spirit inside the company.
But I imagine you want those results to be ever faster, because as a strategy man, you normally
Definitely.
be looking at kind of like 10-year horizons.
Yes.
But I suppose right now you need to be looking at what's happening next year, the next 2 or 3 years.
Yes.
I mean, what is your vision for the next couple of years then? Don't forget about the next 10 years. What's the next couple of years?
Indeed, stretching to 10 years, it becomes really science fiction in these
Right.
days. An horizon of 10 years is what used to be like 2 years in the past.
Yeah.
So therefore, let's talk 2 years as more reasonable. Well, very simple. There is a big issue in our industry today. The way I see it, the way our company looks at it. And the fact that many technologies have gone very deep into their field. Right, you do a scanning of something, and now you can get 1 million points or 10 million points in a second in a sort of very detailed look at something. All right, and then the point is that you need to connect. This is only a piece of a solution. You need to connect it to something else in order for the operator of a machine to make sense of what all this knowledge to make a better work. Now, all these technologies are siloed. Mm-hmm. There is no overarching, how can I say, standards, or no overarching workflow that is modern enough to encompass all these, new generation technologies into a seamless and simple way. Therefore, what I see and where the companies that will have success in the future, again, future is 2 years, are those that simplify this entire workflow and make it manageable by the same people that used to be just simple operators or job site managers. Simplifying it and have the background of that deep knowledge is where we need to research in such a way that utilize the power of the innovation, but at the same time keep it simple. Again, democratization,
Exactly.
do it right.
It does go back to that democratization of technology.
Indeed.
We're going to get into that technology a bit later on, but just talk a bit about your style, because you took over from Ray O'Connor.
Sure.
How did your leadership style differ from Ray's? I mean, possibly
That's
a
a good
lot,
question.
possibly not very much at all. I don't know.
Yeah, indeed.
How would you describe your differences in style?
Ray, first of all, has been my mentor and my boss for more than 20 years, and is my friend.
Right.
And
And he's still there. As
definitely,
chairman,
absolutely. So we talk every day. Well, let me tell you. Of course, every person is different, but the critical values, for example, this care for the people that bring, the good ideas, innovation, give them the opportunity to work in teams, to fail, and still support them. The relentless attention to the needs of the customer, talking to the customer, no matter which role you have, you have to be there and support and listen. These are the things that I really learned from Ray and that really remain into me night and day. But then the rest is about, being able to continue what on his furrow, because he's been for 30 years in this industry and have made so many things that really modified it, that's impacted. And it would be my pride to continue to do that, like Ray did.
But of course, business as usual. It certainly isn't right now. I mean, the US administration's changing policies is really, is upsetting the kind of the global supply chains. You're based in California, but you've got Japanese partners. You've got
European operations.
You're a huge global operation.
Right.
I mean, how are you responding?
With an attentive analysis. It's not clear yet. There is no real answer or solution. Things are evolving as we speak. We are extremely cautious in saying something that maybe tomorrow is disconfirmed by the facts. So we are observing. One thing is for sure. We are set in terms of assets, as we said, with factories in North America, factories in Europe, factories in Japan, to do the best job in providing values to our customers. So essentially, we are not scared by this situation. We just need to see in the next coming weeks, as it settles, what is the best course of action, and we will move forward with that. But our customers should not be anyway worried by this, because we started to analyze this since day one. We have ideas already, we have plans, but it's yet too early. To comment on this one, but we will react. We'll do the right things for our customers. That's absolutely sure.
We'll certainly keep an eye on that one. But of course, the business has been around quite some time. I think 1932, and it's interesting to chart the evolution of the business from early post Second World War days in optics and really driving the kind of development of the camera, and then of course moving into surveying equipment, and then really getting involved in GPS and mainstreaming the IMU, the inertial measurement and unit technology. I mean, it's certainly transformed construction and agriculture. And it's been rapid, because if you think, it was only 2013 that you first worked with Komatsu to actually fit your machine control equipment into their factory-built machines.
Correct.
I mean, the required pace will continue. How do you make sure that you continue that extreme pace with that global geopolitical challenge behind you?
Right. So one thing is the basis of it is to love to do that. In fact, we have plenty of innovation that we are launching at this Bauma, and even more so at NextCon Expo. So we believe this year will be a pivotal year for us to launch new innovation, new technologies that are really revolutionary. The way we do that is we learn from our customers.
Right.
We have a tremendous advantage. And the first one is we have a long heritage. What does a long heritage do for us? Let me explain to you. If you take two leaflets of similar products and you read the specs and the description, they may seem the same thing. Well, there is something that is not written there. And this is about, have you used that particular technology or product in a harsh environment, from Canada to the Sahara Desert? Have you done it under certain conditions, certain machines, doing certain type of job? That is ingrained. All technology, what can happen, what failed, and how we cured it is ingrained in our firmware. The firmware is the soul of that product. It's in there. It already knows how to react. Newcomers don't have any of that. So that's we start from a plateau which is very high. The second thing is that passion. I mean, I'm surrounded by young people. I was amazed this morning. I had, just to give an example, I had a meeting 30 minutes. And with the enthusiasm of these young people, we already laid up, a pattern of innovation avenues that we need to explore for the next 6 months, which is second to none. It's the ability to have people that at nighttime continue to think of their job and wake up with a new idea. This is typical in Topcon, and I foster it.
Well, one of the things that Ray O'Connor used to talk about a lot was the challenge over finding the right people to bring into your business. You may have the money, but you need to also have the skills and to actually drive that innovation. Is that problem being solved?
No. The problem is still there. It's not easy to find the right people because for some reason there are more, how can I say, sexy industries around. And those are absorbing the most of the talents today. Nevertheless, we still are very lucky because in the pool of our product creators, now we don't call them engineers anymore, but that is a very interesting job per se. Our new products are at least have three layers. That layer of the instrument, the layer, of the software that goes with the instrument that the people interact with, and the layer in the cloud that make that instrument data live into an environment where then we can harvest through AI the big data and derive, information that would modify that instrument in a living way over time, and calls for new skills to join our business, which is happening, fortunately. So essentially, as the world evolves and vehicles become with 3D and autonomy all together, now is becoming really, really interesting to attract new talents, and we are at the forefront of it in this moment.
We'll get into a little bit more about that in a moment, but just talk a bit about you. I say you joined the business in 2008, but you took over as chief executive and president just 6 months ago.
Yeah.
You spent 20 years working in the US, but obviously you're originally from Italy.
Yes.
Based in California now. Where's home for you?
That's a good question. I live in San Francisco, a very nice place, which is the city I love. But before then, I was already in the U.S. because my former job was with Sauer Danfoss, so living in Minneapolis. And actually, I joined Topcon as a president and CEO of TSD, the joint venture between Topcon and Sauer Danfoss. Right. So then I was moved from that joint venture into Topcon, and there I was doing the job as the senior vice president of engineering and then chief strategy officer and CTO. Nevertheless, home for me is difficult to define because I spent most of my time, more than 180 days per year, in the U.S. But then my family lives still in Bologna, Italy, so almost every week I go home for the weekend. And then the rest is somewhere around the world because we have more than 40 locations active in TPS in this moment. And of course, I have constantly connections with Japan, where I go to Tokyo or Osaka very frequently. And so for me, really, if you consider I spend more than 100 days on a plane, inside the fuselage of a plane, and 180 days in America, and the rest somewhere, or about 50 in Italy, and the rest any other country. Right. That's where home is.
Well, I imagine being on a plane, you're very comfortable. You studied aeronautical engineering, of course, at the University of Pisa.
Oh, I'm very comfortable on airplanes. I know how they work. Oh, yeah. I started in Turin designing... in the design team of the Eurofighter, the jet fighter of Europe. But then, I graduated and everything, and my wife, which I met at university, she was from Bologna.
Oh, right.
And then she said, Turin is way too far. And then I said, well, I agree with you.
Right.
And then, I moved there, and then I started to work in the paving business. Right. And then Ray O'Connor, a few months later, came because he just bought the company in the paving business in California and wanted to show to the Europeans that there is a market. Right. And he found me. And since then, we are like this. And
well, you spent the first part of your career, as I say, developing and marketing new products when you first started at Topcon. But then you gained an MBA and you switched to the business side.
Right.
How do you keep your? You must keep your hand in with the engineering cycle.
Oh, definitely.
Have you moved on from that? I don't know.
No,
you still like the widgets?
Well, I think of widgets every night, so I bother my engineers every single moment with with ideas and things they need to try for me. But it's a fantastic relationship. It's like I need them and they need me. So
you mentioned your global role. You're all over the world the whole time. What do you do when you're not working then?
Oh wow, that's a very good question. I need to take a rest. That's all I do. Right. I spend some good quality time with my family somewhere around the world, but that really helps me.
And I imagine the Italian side of you must be an ace cook.
Yeah, when I have time and I stay in San Francisco by myself, I cook to myself. Right. Yes.
Favorite dishes? Favorite Italian dishes?
Pasta, of course.
Of course.
Of course. All sorts of variety of things. I can do many.
Good stuff. Yeah. Well, let's get back to technology and innovation. I mean, Topcon, you've been at the cutting edge of GPS positioning and machine automation. What would you say were some of the technological breakthroughs that you've seen radically changing the industry of agriculture and construction, and how are they going to really continue this transformation?
That is such a great question. This would be one of the questions that I would use to when I have engineering meetings, because sometimes you need to detach from the reality of that little thing you're talking about, or it's your problem now, and put that into the context of what's happening around you. So first of all, imagine what was the world like before the lasers. Laser light and laser technology has enabled so much for the construction industry, because now all of a sudden you have a reference which you can really see, which is really, for example, flat, or you can have an angle controlled by that. That in the 80s made a dramatic revolution in terms of precision, how you tile, how you put things, how you do HAVC correctly. And it was a little gizmo like this. Today, we have evolved that into a 3D laser where we can point anything. So what have we really done? For the first time, imagine there is a drawing. Today, that PDF is on your tablet. And now here comes a laser that whenever you say, okay, where is this real point here in the ambient where I am? Push the point, and here the laser tells you that is the point, right, millimeter level. Not only that, you go there, drill your hole, and then you ask the laser, can you measure that hole? And all of a sudden, this drawing changes because now it's real. Understand? This is science fiction.
It corrects what's actually on the page.
We have connected the virtual world of a drawing to the real world and backwards. So these are the innovation things that really inspire. So that's the laser is one of the things. The other thing is GPS. What GPS made possible after 2000 with the RTK technology is to deliver, this level of accuracy in positioning something like a point or a line in dynamic mode, globally in 3D, in a simple way, just by means of positioning an antenna rigidly linked to the point you need to measure. Now, that is a tremendous revolution, because in the past, imagine we had all this big machinery here, they already existed, but we could only do a flat surface. Now, after that GPS revolution, we can make it round. And so we can make any sort of model and form that we want because of GPS exists easily. So you see that there's many examples I can give you where things in the last 20, 30 years have changed dramatically, because you cannot even design in the past what we can actually do today.
Well, your strategy has always been, I think you described it as, to automate the surfacing of the world.
Right.
To effectively
let machine the surface of the world in automatic mode.
To let the machines get on and dig or scrape or do whatever they need to do. I mean, are we nearing the levels of accuracy that are required and the reliability of that to make that a reality then?
Oh, absolutely, yes. Not only that, now we are moving to the next phase where you can really control the millimeter level. So Topcon is the first one to have introduced a so-called millimeter GPS in paving. Because as you know, GPS works very well in X and Y, but not that accurate at the same level in Z. Then we invented a new technology blending GPS and a laser beam, which would be fan-shaped, and therefore we could level at millimeter level, and by combination of these two tensors. Today we are in the verge of a technology where, with the new scanning devices and combining that with GPS, now we can give millimeter also in X and Z. And this will be the next frontier, where millimeter is going to be what measures the difference between one and another piece of equipment.
Well, one of the things you also talk about is mission-critical communications.
Yes, definitely.
Ensuring that, these fleets of machines that are all driving themselves can operate in safety and also with security. And I think, crucially on that security thing, because there's a number of folk out there who perhaps want to try and interfere with the operations of these machines. I mean, is that possible? Is that something we need to worry more about?
Definitely, absolutely, definitely. So these mission-critical communication systems, we acquired Cetel, which is essentially the leader in radio communication in our business. And through Cetel, we launched a new program even before the acquisition, but certainly after the acquisition, we empowered it, because we have to solve this problem. I don't know if you see it, but you said, we have to think a little bit in advance. So thinking in advance, we have a job site with all autonomous vehicles. Okay, autonomous vehicle work in this way. Every vehicle, according to what needs to be done as the job site today, they receive a mission from the cloud. And then they, while execute their mission, so all together in a swarm mode, they need to communicate to each other because every vehicle may encounter some difficulty or an obstacle. They need to stop or they are late for some reason. It's harder than they believe and so forth. Therefore, they need to readjust the mission in a constant way. Now, we already mentioned there is one communication to the cloud, one communication vehicle to vehicle. What happens if all of this works but communication doesn't? So you understand. Imagine in a traffic situation, one of the problems people don't think of autonomous vehicles, when we have all of them autonomous, and for some reason there's a communication breakdown in the air.
I know, I worry about it. Don't worry,
right?
Ivan, I
so
worry
we
about
can conquer the entire London city in a second.
Yeah.
You understand that? So now I don't want this conquer situation happening in a job site. So we started to think of a new radio system. So what is the radio system of the future that really enables autonomy to happen? And therefore, we thought of a mission-critical radio. So what it is, we have different radio systems. Now, we have long-range Bluetooth, long-range Wi-Fi, we have UHF, VHF, SPED spectrum, LTE by cell phone, and satellite. If we put it all together into a single device, into a single firmware, the most important. And we utilize technology like satellites that have been developed for years in the industry for utility, where you have these monitoring stations along very long lines, pipelines for gas, for electricity, where you have different media to communicate, because if you have an interruption on a cable, you want to go radio, but if that radio doesn't work, you want to go with another system, and therefore that knowledge exists. Satellites that both. So we combine it, we create this new firmware. Therefore, we start, and each vehicle start to communicate in what is the best way, the best technology in that moment. If there is an interference or something happens, there's a breakdown, you won't see anything. And I have very nice videos, because we have tested this in the north of Finland and so forth, where you start to inject some jamming here and there, but all the other vehicles, with 3D MC stop operating. And you see our system continue, because the same information has been diverted over another line, and you don't even feel as an operator.
Well, I imagine that
this is mission critical communication.
And you have to keep on top of that, I imagine, to make sure that you're continuing to be ahead of the next.
Absolutely. And then you have to have this layer of security that happens at cloud level and at firmware level in the edge communication. And that the two things combined make sure that you have a safety bubble of communication around the job site.
Okay. What for you then is the next big thing in technology?
Well, this is a very interesting question too. I believe it's in this streak of the democratization that we discussed, because there's a lot of vehicles that have not been touched yet, and think of the mid-tier and the low-tier in terms of size and cost. These vehicles deserve to be automated, because even a construction company, there's one person. He has to do the job on grade, on time, and deliver quality results. We need to enable that such that the entire industry, at massive numbers of the hundreds of thousands, will manage it. So the next level is that we are able to apply all this technology not only to the top end of the vehicle ranges, but to the low end. So it's upon us, incumbent upon us as Topcon and the major manufacturers, to scale down the technology to a cost and a simplification such that even a single person company can take benefit of all of this.
So from a business perspective, is that where you see future profits being generated?
Definitely.
Or is it just it does actually?
Yes, yes.
Okay. We talked about technology, we talked about you, we talked about your partnerships. Let's finish on customers.
Yes.
What is one message perhaps that you'd like customers, maybe even partners who are listening to this, to take away in terms of how maybe they can help Topcon to develop its business, and the other way around?
Sure. So it's establishing very honest relationship. From our side, the ability to listen what went wrong and to provide a plausible correction and make sure that happens. From the customer side, I always love when they tell us, how we could improve. From our side, internally, is important that all of our customer base knows that we are making our best efforts, and the testimony is our booth here and the level of energy and the renewed message that we are giving to the market as the investments are there, the people are there, and we are here striving to create the next generation product, make you more profitable and create value for your own companies.
Ivan, it is a fascinating time, a hugely challenging time, but a hugely exciting time, I think, for a business like this. Certainly for the whole of the construction and agricultural businesses, as we try to make it more efficient, more effective, and of course, make sure those outcomes are much better for everybody. So thanks very much for joining me today. Thanks for explaining what this strategy is, and I hope it all goes very well for you.
Thank you so much. It's my pleasure to have been here today. So thank you very much.
Thanks a lot. Well, there are without question some really interesting and challenging times ahead when it comes to the use of technology and infrastructure, but it is also clear that businesses like Topcon have huge reserves of ideas, of passion, and crucially, investment cash to take these ideas and turn them rapidly into solutions that will boost performance and outcomes across the entire global infrastructure sector. And I'll certainly be keeping an eye on the progress at Topcon as Ivan gets his feet well and truly under the leadership desk. But sadly, that's all we have time for now on the podcast, but there is more in the pipeline as we continue to probe the big issues faced across the sector. If you haven't done so already, do check out the Infrastructure Podcast website. That's www.infrastructure-podcast.com, where you will find background information and all the latest podcasts to listen to and to share with colleagues. But for now, thanks for joining me. Thanks again to Ivan, and I look forward to seeing you again very soon.